So verse 2 of Hatha Yoga Pradipika, chapter 4. Thus I should now expound the best process of samadhi, which eliminates death and takes one to the greatest bliss of Brahma. Now we come to the culmination of Hatha Yoga and Raja Yoga, samadhi. The word samadhi is made up of two roots, sama, which means equal, and di, which means reflection or to receive. The Hatha Ratnavali states that when the mind becomes motionless as a result of deep concentration, that is samadhi. Garanda Samhita states that detaching the mind from the body, one should make it with the Paramatma. This is known as samadhi, which is not a state of any kind of consciousness as we understand this word. The word samadhi does not indicate liberation, but it is a field of awareness comprising supra-consciousness. It is the result of a total one-pointedness of mind and expansion of consciousness from the mundane perception to that of cosmic awareness. It is the final experience of every human being and that which we are all evolving towards. Through yogic and tantric practices, this process is accelerated. Just as scientists have developed the means to release nuclear energy from the uranium atom, similarly, the yogis found the scientific system to release the energy and consciousness from the bindu within the body. Samadhi is the experience of that which exists beyond temporal experience, which is beyond the influence of nature. It is a timeless state beyond birth, death, beginning, end. Samadhi starts with total concentration on the object of meditation, with no other thought, no awareness of the witness remaining. According to sage Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, there are six stages of samadhi: Savitarka, Nirvitarka, Savichara, Nirvichara, Ananda, and Asmita. They are the names of very subtle fluctuations taking place before the superior samadhi, nirvikalpa. Samadhi is neither trance nor ecstasy. Samadhi is a state of consciousness in which there is no fluctuation. A thought is a fluctuation. Objective awareness is a fluctuation. Subjective awareness is a fluctuation. A dream is a fluctuation. A spiritual vision is fluctuation. Psychic forms are fluctuation. The knowledge of I in the depth of meditation is fluctuation. In deep meditation, when you become unconscious of everything, that is also fluctuation. It is called sankalpa vikalpa. An example, thought and counter thought, awareness and counter awareness. In the deepest mental states, the sankalpa vikalpa keep on taking place. When the sankalpa vikalpa dies, then a state emerges that is called samadhi. Samadhi is either savikalpa or nirvikalpa. Savikalpa is samadhi or super consciousness with vikalpa, counter awareness. Nirvikalpa is samadhi without any vikalpa or counter awareness. In Savikalpa, samadhi, there is higher awareness, but the four main types of vikalpa continue. These vikalpas are not like passion or fear, but they are very slight modifications termed vitarka, vichara, ananda, and asmita by sage Patanjali. When samadhi begins, the consciousness moves beyond the awareness of the physical and pranic sheaths, an example, animaya and pranamaya koshas, and abides in the mental sheath of manamaya. Later, the awareness develops into prajna or intuition. The higher mind in Vijnana Maya Kosha, then transcendental awareness in Anamaya, and then beyond that. Samadhi is progressive, transcending the spheres of object, motion, thought, and instinct. The entire range of samadhi is classified into two divisions: savikalpa, which is also known as sabija, an example with seed. The seed is samskara, the trace of ego, which manifests as the vikalpa. The unfoldment from vitarka to asmita is called sabija or savikalpa or salambana samadhi, because the consciousness still has the base support or pratyaya. Consciousness operates within the koshas and is still therefore entangled with Shakti, Prakriti, or Maya. Nirbija is beyond that, devoid of awareness and consciousness. Rather, it is a conscious unconscious. It is without vibration or movement. There is complete stillness of everything. Each stage of sabbija has a positive and negative aspect. Positive samadhi is samprajanata. Samprajanata indicates that there is consciousness of the object of meditation or pratyaya. Asamprajanata is negative samadhi, which means there is an unconscious awareness of the object. It is called virama pratyaya. It is not complete absence of the symbol. The symbol of concentration is in the mind, but there is no awareness. It is a dynamic state which intercepts vitarka and vichara, vichara and ananda and asmita and nirvikalpa. It is a state of shuna or laya characterized by the presence of samskara, but the dropping of object or pratyaya. It is an impermanent state preceding the ascension into a higher or deeper state. However, descent into grosser state may also result, and this should be remembered. The concluding point of saprajanata samadhi always unfolds through asaprajanata. It is the first stage of sambhija samadhi, an example, savitarka, also known as vitarka samprajanata. Mind is absorbed in the object, subject, and sense of perception, or known, knower, and knowing. There is no distinction between the three. Chitta or memory exists and confuses the subject, object, or idea, so they appear to be one. In this state, the concept still exists in language and gross form. When the knower, known, and knowing become unconfused, and memory is free of any past impressions concerning the object, it is nirvitarka, or vitarka asam prajanata. The gross form of the object and knowledge of it shines in the mind, but there is no awareness or language. The faculty of memory is checked. Savichara, or vichara samprajanata, begins when the subtle layers of the object appears. However, mind is not totally fixed on the subtle object. An example, sukshma artha, because of association with time, space, and idea. There is infusion and awareness of each aspect, knower, known, and knowing separately. Vichara is direct reflection without the basis of language. It is pratya bijna, illumined knowledge, which guides all the processes in the deeper state of super consciousness. When time, space, and idea, knower, known, and knowing are removed, and the essential nature of thought remains, it is nirvichara, or vichara asamprajanata. At the culmination of this samadhi, the chitta is illumined and intellect ceases. Nirvichara develops into ananda or sanandan samadhi when chitta has penetrated beyond the subtle existence of the object, and there is only awareness of the existence of the vritti, I am, aham, asmi. It is sattvic amkara or ego, a state of pure existence and awareness without word or idea. Ananda becomes asmita when there is no differentiation between the object of consciousness and the consciousness. Awareness and consciousness are absolute, but there is still the seed of ego. It is the highest sattvic state of consciousness. At the end of the samadhi, there is a state which is called dynamic samadhi. Before making a jump from savikalpa to nirvikalpa, there is a gap, and that gap is complete shunya or void. There is no experience. The self is dynamic potential, and it is after this gap that nirvi samadhi dawns. However, before nirvikalpa, there are a few other samadhis. One of them is known as Dharma Megha Samadhi. Megha is cloud, Dharma is virtue. Dharma Megha Samadhi is emergence of a consciousness where the virtues pour down upon you. The virtues are not religious or other virtues, but all the good qualities automatically come to you because it is very necessary before nirvikalpa. If the dawn of virtue does not take place before nirvikalpa samadhi, then you are going to enter nirvikalpa samadhi with all the rubbish that you carry in your life. In order to remove that dirt, it is necessary to achieve Dharma Megha Samadhi. Nirvikalpa or Nirbija Samadhi is the disappearance of the last trace of samkara or vikalpa. Individual consciousness is eliminated just as a fire, which has consumed its fuel, dies out. From Dharma Megha Samadhi onwards, there is complete freedom from karma and kleshas, ignorance, egoism, attachment, aversion, clinging to life. There is no desire to become liberated, but nevertheless, nirvana, kavaya, or moksha ensues. That is timeless, changeless, the supreme samadhi. So they share this picture. And when I was scrolling forward yesterday, I kind of glanced at it. So this is a good go-to, I guess, with all the different words we just said. So we start at the bottom, dharna, dhamat. So dharna, dhyana, and samadhi, the first three are the last three limbs of the 8 limbs of yoga. And then I guess this is from after samadhi, or all those different types of samadhi that she was just talking about. And everything has 16 names.
So these are basically stages that you progress through.
From your
Nirvikalpa.
Yeah.
Which is what I got from this. Not that I understood what the heck each of these stages were, because I did not.
Yeah, I feel like it's still all too new to me that I just have to read it to start getting the basis of it, and then dig deeper. And like we were saying yesterday, I'm still curious to see how this chapter unfolds. It was interesting to read what I was just reading without having this picture in front of me to sort of understand each layer.
Yeah, I agree. It would have been helpful if we could have gone back and forth between each layer and the illustration. Maybe it would help, maybe it'll help reading later. In verse 1, when I was listening yesterday, I didn't have the book in front of me, so I'm listening. And then there is the illustration on page 466, the evolution of the Bindu. And it's the same, it's like these are 2 major statements and 2 almost like position papers and 2, here's an outline.
Yeah.
Of what you're going to be reading. And I hope she's going to explain, or the translation will explain further.
It's just it's just crazy to me. Once you hit samadhi, which to me almost seems impossible, then just in the world we live in, like there's just too much material and like our culture, and it's very hard to um not attach yourself to the thoughts. And once you even hit that level, you still got a long ways to go.
Yeah.
But also like, but then they are like, they have, it's like so complex to me, but then also like they're like, well, it's so simple. And so like, I feel like it's like a matter of balancing at the edge of the pond. I keep coming back to that example, like try not to find yourself buried in the sand at the bottom of the pond again, so that Amit has to come pull you out.
Yep. On the other hand, these are all, these, just these two drawings in these first couple of pages. These are all the structure as this author saw it. This, so they're and the way we're reading this is, and I understand why we're reading it this way, but for me, in terms of understanding this stuff, it's just too fast. I can't go that fast. I have to understand the language, especially since it is another language,
Yeah, no, I know.
and it's just very sometimes it resonates, but many times, like these first two slokas, these first two verses in chapter 4, it's just too much. And I don't mean it's too much bad. I mean, it is too much to absorb and reading one time through without actually really studying it. And I don't mean studying it like in a cave for 3 months. I mean, going and figuring out what does each word mean, et cetera, et cetera. And how do they fit together, at least on a superficial level.
Yeah.
But I well understand that no matter how much I study it, I'm not going to get it. It's far too difficult. And you're right. It also makes me feel like on the illustration that you just showed, progressive stages of samadhi, I thought when you way down on the bottom, only 3 up is samadhi, satyam, relative truth. I thought that was, if you could get there, that's really very cool. And that's something else. And instead, there are now 7 more stages, each one harder than the last to get through. So forget about understanding, just as a picture I can see, it's sort of like, oh, all righty then.
Well, and he's right. She's right. They do talk about this in the sutra book. They do talk about the different layers of samadhi.
Yeah.
After you get there, it's hard for me to understand something I haven't experienced, I guess. And I feel like when Jackie used to be on, it's like it's something that I don't necessarily. It's not like my goal in life to reach samadhi. My goal in life is to just be like a good person living in the present. And if samadhi comes along one day, great. But it's not like, I feel like we're the people that are working towards samadhi, it's still like it's like we talked about this, like your ego's still attached to you. It's like,
Yep.
oh, I'm meditating, but the fact that you're meditating, then you're not meditating.
Exactly. And that's hard to get out of.
Yeah, it's so hard.
It is very hard to get out of. And it's almost, when it does happen, where you have a moment where you're still there, you still realize you're meditating, but it's not as heavily ego-based as it was before. It's almost like if you're having trouble falling to sleep, there was a moment when you could slip into sleep, but if you're conscious of it too much, then you're right out of it.
Then you ruin it. Then you're never going to sleep. The moment you realize you're falling asleep, then you can't go to sleep.
That's it. Yes, you're starting from, you're going back 3 steps and you're working.
Yeah, it's like you might as well just get up and start your whole day over again and try to go back to sleep an hour later.
Right, and that to me sometimes is what meditation feels like. And what you just said, if you're really conscious of oh, I'm meditating, then you're probably not meditating, and you probably need to go back to breathing.
Well, I do feel like I'm not meditating. Like I say I meditate every morning, but it's definitely a concentration practice. And I've started doing this 21 day like listen to meditation, and I'm
Mhm.
on day 11 today. So for the first 20 minutes of our meditation, I've been listening to like an app for 10 minutes. And after that 10 minutes, I then sit in my quiet for 10 minutes just to continue out my 20 minutes. But I'm finding it's a lot harder to sit still after the first meditation has ended. And I'm trying, but it's a good practice for me because especially this time of year, it's like you need the silence. Just sit here. Don't worry about your to-do list. Just keep like it's this practice of keep pulling myself back into the present moment. Just keep sitting here quiet. But then like I'll start stretching my neck out and it feels so good. But I'm like, I'm gonna let myself do that. And so like sometimes my 20 minutes of meditation isn't this perfect, quiet stillness. Sometimes there is some sort of movement. And I just let myself do it because that's what I need in that moment. So I haven't even perfected meditation. I'm not even close to perfecting meditation. I don't feel like I'm close to it. And I've been doing it, but also I've been doing it for a long time since March, but also since March isn't that long of a time.
No,
Like
no.
thinking about like a child learning to read, it could take a few years, like thinking about learning how to meditate, it could take a lifetime.
Oh, I'm assuming it will because I'm with you. I mean, when I meditate, it's not even on there are days when I have monkey mind. Okay, I understand that. And then I just kind of say, okay, just sit here, and see what happens. But even when I'm more into it, I'm still not into it. It still takes a tremendous amount of time. I always have to say, Amanda used to say, go back to the breath, etc.
Yeah.
Sometimes I listen to kirtan type stuff because when I was doing meditation, when Callie had that early morning meditation years ago, and I used to like going because kirtan for me is a way into a more focused state, but it is not, I don't think it's meditation. I think it's a more focused, for me, it's a more focused state. And I think I'm doing great when I can focus on one thing, like a light, or like listening to the sounds in the room, and that's all, or breathing, counting in 4 and breathing out 4. I think I'm doing fabulous if I can get a few minutes of that. Forget about 20 minutes. So I'm with you 100%. But on the other hand, it makes for a much better day, whatever is going on.
Oh yeah.
It is, as you said, if you skip it, you skipped it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so maybe I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to my sutras and see what they say about this again over the weekend, and then I can bring it. But uh
Well, I'm going to try and read the first 1, 2 from this chapter again and see if I can get some organization in my head, because right now it's just all over the place. So, this, I got to tell you, it disturbs me horribly not to have. Clearly, there's organization there. There's 2 gorgeous illustrations. I don't have to memorize it. I just have to understand it in my head. So that's what I will do over the weekend.
yeah, I feel like I need the picture. Like I should take a picture on my phone of it and look at it as because I'm like a visual person. So if
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
the picture, it might help.
All right. Well, you
Yeah,
gotta,
let's do a few rounds of breath. We might do like 19 minutes of meditation today. If you want to, I can end it. I'll end it at 8:25. It's 8:05. I'll set the timer now and include the breath in our meditation.
yeah, that's fine. That works for me, Pam. And if I want to do more, I can do more.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty then.
So let's just take a few rounds of alternate nostril breathing. You can take as many rounds as you need today. I'll guide you through the first round. Right nostril to right nose, right thumb to right nostril. Inhale through left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. continuing on like that, adding retention and locks if it's in practice. Bringing hands in front of your heart. Namaste.
Thank you, Pam.